So, Robert, what's it like hosting your own television show?
Well, I mean, it was fun at first, but then this stuff happened, and
Well, I'm sure that's quite interesting. What made you want to educate others about education?
I guess it kind of started in ninth grade when I got a few bad grades, and my mom got mad at me. Can we please move on? And
Okay, all right, that's fine. So you have quite a interesting production here. How long do you think it takes for you to plan out an episode?
Look, I could plan it out, but I'm kind of in a pickle right here. Not gonna lie.
So it seems like you have more work than you can take on. It seems like you need a helping hand. Why weren't my emails responded to, Robert?
Look, I don't manage that account.
Hold on, who's this? Wait, what are you doing? Wait. Hey, get out of here. Wait. What are you doing? Hey.
I'm just,
Hey, go back to episode 3 where you belong.
It's The Late Bell! With a cold open starring Jeeva Venkat and Nithalan Vincent. Special guest starring Miss Scaggs and Eshan Bhojane. And creative writing by Matthew Kwon. And now, right from his basement, it's your host, Robert Hunter!
Welcome everyone, the bell has rung, class has begun, please take your seats. How's everyone doing tonight? Unfortunately, this is our last episode, which means I will be unemployed soon. So if anyone happens to have another low-budget show that needs a host, you might actually want to call someone else because I have things to do after this. So let me ask you a question. Do you enjoy school? The system that we have right now, where we do hour-long classes where you sit at a desk at 8 in the morning, do you enjoy it? Well, you're in luck because there's such a thing as alternative learning experiences or alternative education. Basically, these are teaching methods and systems that are not really what we currently see in everyday public schools. This could include homeschooling, online schooling, or Sudbury schools, which involves leaving the school as kind of like a direct democracy and giving students more freedom and reign over the school. Which would probably be pretty easy because then you could just vote that everyone gets 100 on everything. Harvard, here we come. Now, first off, these schools and education styles typically are used by people who are either dissatisfied with the current learning experience or are at risk of failing. This is particularly evident in Old Orchard Beach High School in Maine, where students at risk of not graduating are able to join an experimental system where they have projects and activities that allow them to apply math and science to real-life skills like shipbuilding. I'm not kidding. That's not a joke. They actually learn how to build a canoe. Okay, well, it's a canoe. It's not a ship, so. But yeah, watch out, kids. If you don't do well in school, you might just have to build a canoe. Apparently, programs like this help motivate kids to come to school and keep them engaged while learning about core subjects, just applying them in a real-life manner, which I do not believe for 1 second. Kids interested in school? What kind of witchcraft is this? While this may seem wonderful, not everyone is happy. Many parents in Washington County, Pennsylvania, are worried over the county moving some students in an alternative program from their old building to a sectioned-off area of Park Elementary School. Some people are worried about the influence of interactions that they might have with elementary students, whereas others are worried that the alternative students will be treated as though they are prisoners. You know what they need? They need Ohio State's course on how to start a revolution. And don't even tell me that school is like a prison. These are two completely different things. I mean, take a look at this picture of a school, and take a look at this picture of a prison. Oh, wait. They're turning schools into bicycles. They're turning buildings, not just schools, they're turning buildings into bicycles. Now, aside from keeping students from failing, alternative education can include homeschooling. And there's this new thing with combining traditional schooling with homeschooling. It's called hybrid homeschooling. And it involves students being homeschooled for part of the week and then going to an actual school, or at least participating in one for the rest of the week. It's for all those of you who want to be antisocial and social at the exact same time. We've got a great show for you all. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. My next guest is Miss Scaggs. Miss Scaggs, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, so tell us a bit about yourself to start off.
I teach English here. I teach 9th and 12th grade. And I went to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I majored in English, and then I got my master's in education.
All right, so how is your class structured, and how do you keep students engaged in learning?
So my senior class is pretty small. I only have about 13 students in that class, so it's highly individualized. So almost every student is doing something different. They're reading their own books and then working independently on projects that they create related to our units or our genres in World Lit. And then I'm trying to do the same thing for 9th grade. So we've actually had a few county trainings talking about the reading writing workshop. So not as much full class novels like the typical English class, but moving more towards students monitoring their own reading progress and choosing books that appeal to their interests. So it's still aligned with the standards, but maybe not as much just memorization of content.
So you also do like individualized teaching because they're all at different levels?
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So how do you think technology will affect the teaching and learning process in the long term?
I think it has positive implications. It prepares them more for what they're actually going to be encountering in the real world. So those skills are expected once they go into the job, once they start searching for jobs that they want to do. And so I think it's preparing them for that. I think it sometimes is difficult if there's an over-reliance on technology because, as we all know, technology can fail and Wi-Fi can go out. And I think that teachers also need to account for, if that happens, to always have some kind of plan B.
All right, so we're mainly asking this to our students, but if you were an advisor to the principal, what ideas would you pitch to help improve education?
I have had a few conversations with students about this, actually, and the feedback that I'm getting from students is that schools have not maybe adapted to the times in a way that other industries have. So it almost seems as if education has remained somewhat static. So I read the same books in high school that I'm teaching now, and my parents read the same books. So I would recommend, I guess, getting out of the rut of teaching the same novel in English specifically and expecting certain answers from students and then labeling those as correct or incorrect. So I think that education should be geared more towards critical thinking skills, and the material can vary a little bit more than it has.
All right, so lastly, what do you think is the greatest challenge facing education as time goes on, and how would we deal with that?
Class sizes in public schools, I think, because in order to implement the kind of education that I feel strongly about, in reality, it's a major toll on teachers to have to plan for 30 to 35 students per class and to give each student the individual attention that you want to give them. So whatever it would take, whether it's funding, whether it's more schools in general, but making the class sizes 20 or fewer students, I think would have an enormous impact on.
And even if the teacher doesn't necessarily do like individualized teaching, it's always better to be in a smaller class because you get a more personal experience through that.
Yeah, too many kids slip through the cracks the way that our classes are sized now.
All right, thank you. Miss Scaggs, everyone. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm joined now by Eshan Bhojane. Eshan, welcome.
Hi, it's nice to meet you, Robert.
It's nice to meet you. So to start off, tell us a bit about yourself.
So I'm currently a junior at Chattahoochee High School. I have a big interest in business and entrepreneurship. A lot of the stuff I've been doing centers around like emerging innovations such as big data analytics, artificial intelligence, and ways we can create startups from there, create new solutions to problems. That's the main things I'm interested in right now.
All right, so what classes or subjects do you feel are really helpful to you, or the ones that you can take away the most from?
I would say probably AP Environmental Science was my favorite one. Even though it's not related to what I want to do later on in the future, I feel that class was able to open up my eyes to a lot of problems that we face today. Most classes today are just, you memorize this, or remember how the system works, and then you put it on the test. This was more like application-based, which I really enjoyed. And then another class I would say was AP Government. Now, I know government doesn't have to do anything with engineering or science at all, but one thing I took out of AP Government was looking at the way our political system works in multiple ways. It wasn't just, memorize the amendments, memorize different court cases. Actually, apply it to different scenarios as well. That's mainly classes like these were most helpful because you actually apply them to real life scenarios, whereas other classes would be just straight up verbatim memorize.
All right. So what should be the ultimate goal, in your opinion, of school? And does the current system achieve that?
So I think the overlying goal of the education system today should be to unravel the abilities of different students. As I grew up, I sort of saw myself going towards more of an entrepreneurship side, going towards management or business and stuff. And I felt like I discovered this a bit too late during my high school career, where I could have shaped my classes towards that area. I think there should be certain class clusters that are related to one sort of career. So it's not more of just finding your passion, just finding a direction. Once students have this direction, it kind of, sort of unravels with time what you want to go into.
All right, so since you started your own business by now, what are some things that you wish school had taught you that might have helped you with your business?
I think perspective was one main thing, as in school where it's only one way, one method to do things. I think the idea of having multiple perspectives from multiple people was good. I think maybe doing outreach programs and stuff. I wish we could learn social interaction in school. I feel like there's a little big problem with many kids today, being able to reach out with your own community members, being able to get them to help you, being able to help them, and just stuff like that.
If you were an advisor to the principal, what ideas would you pitch to help improve education?
When I think about changing education, being an advisor to a principal won't really be changing much. At most, if you're telling me I could probably give them advice on how to cope with the current system we have, how we can maybe improve it, maybe lower the caliber of the stress and stuff like that. So if we're talking about today's system, I genuinely would say do away with College Board. That's a very rebellish thing to say, do away with College Board. I feel as College Board is changed from its original, motto of helping students, learn more and do college classes. I feel they've just had this monopoly on education where now AP is the needed to do. It's not even something special anymore. I mean, I think there was a time where doing AP class had a class to it. It was you're doing an AP class, that's good, it's going to count. A lot of colleges, I think, don't even care anymore that you did AP because everyone's doing it and now looks uniform. And that's bad. It shouldn't be uniform. It should be something special. Doing AP classes are hard. There are some hard AP classes out there, and I think that needs to be acknowledged by colleges, but it's not because everyone's doing it now. So students take those classes to look impressive. They've just added 4 years of unneeded stress, 15 to 20 AP classes, just so they could impress someone. You see what I'm saying? So there's no more value to taking an AP class anymore. It's only for show. And I don't think you should be learning for the sake of show. I think you should be learning for the sake of yourself.
So you maybe do something to ameliorate the amount of inflation that this has created?
Yes, of course. So instead of maybe an AP system, I feel dual enrollment actually is it's a better alternative, because I think I remember talking about Georgia State dual enrollment versus just AP classes. If you take Georgia State dual enrollment, those classes are going to transfer to any college, even some private institutions. Whereas AP classes, maybe not as much. So I feel maybe we should go towards, if you're wanting to, for the sake of college classes, maybe go towards dual enrollment. Let's start increasing the focus on that.
So if we did shift over away from APs and more towards dual enrollment, do you think maybe dual enrollment could have the same inflation effect that APs have had?
Oh yeah, I could see something happening with dual enrollment as well, where you're seeing nearly hundreds of high schoolers already in college classes, so it's hard to differentiate who are the college students and who are the high school students. I can't see that as becoming a problem, but maybe as a way to mitigate that problem, we could maybe have some entrance exams for those as well, where you can't study for those entrance exams. I feel that AP exams are all study, whereas entrance exams would be you do it fresh without any preparation, and if you're qualified to do it, you do it. If not, you don't.
All right, thank you, Eshan. That's our last interview. Stay tuned. We have one more bit right after this.
We've all been there. You've got your own body weight and homework sitting on your desk and or accumulating in your book bag. Your task seems easy enough. Finish the work. It's a straightforward concept, but as we all know, easier said than done. You see, the absence of motivation isn't just an issue for students alone. Plenty of adults feel the vacancy as well. Everybody, of course, will at some point in their lives complain that they don't have the time to do the things they want. If you haven't yet, trust me, you will. From a subjective perspective, however, namely my own, time is not the issue. If somehow our days, years, and lifespans got longer, it's very likely the workload will increase proportionately. That's just the way it is with organized society, but that's a separate issue. What we all really need is motivation. Now, before you accuse me of stating the obvious, bear in mind that some of you may be watching this simply to avoid doing work. Well, I hate to break it to you, but that work will be done. It might not be done within the next hour, or within the next few days if it's a project. Maybe it won't be done at all. But for the great majority of you, your sense of obligation or whatever drives you to do that one thing at the last minute will kick in and force you to break yourself in order to get the job done. Thank you. That's all we have. Have a good night, everyone.